Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so today we've got some really interesting, maybe even baffling source material to dig into. It's all about Canadian Express entry.
Yeah, baffling is a good word for it, initially anyway.
Because if you've been watching the recent draws, it almost feels like, I don't know, two completely different systems are running side by side with totally opposite rules.
Right, that's what jumps out.
We're looking at draw results with these wildly different minimum scores. Our sources show one draw needing this, like, almost impossibly high score, and then boom, the next one drops way down to something that seems, well, much more achievable.
But it's not chaos. That's the key.
No, exactly. For anyone who follows this stuff, the kind of inconsistency usually points to something deliberate, a strategy.
And that's what we're here to do, right? Decode that strategy. We need to get past just the numbers 778 here, 472 there, and really understand the policy levers that IRCC, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada are actually pulling. Because for you listening, getting a grip on these mechanics, that's how you stay properly informed on the landscape right now.
Absolutely. The difference itself is the story. It's like these numbers belong to totally different economic realities.
Yeah.
So let's unpack it. Let's start with that first score, the one that made everyone watching the CRS, the Comprehensive Ranking System, kind of do a double take.
Yeah, that big one.
Draw number 372. Okay, first thing. It was small, really small. Only 345 candidates got ITAs, invitations to apply.
Which already tells you something specific is going on.
Definitely. When the pool is that tight, it's specialized.
Okay.
But the real headline grabber was the minimum CRS score needed, a massive 778.
Wow.
778. I mean, when scores get up near 800, that's not just about having great language scores or work experience, is it? What does a score like 778 actually signal in Express entry?
Well, it signals that pretty much everyone invited was already part of a very, very specific group, a pre-qualified group.
Well,
when you see a CRS score hitting 778, you're almost certainly looking at candidates who've already got a provincial nomination, a PNP.
the PNP factor.
Right. Yeah, that PNP is basically the golden picket in Express entry. It automatically adds 600 points to whatever score the candidate already had.
600, okay.
So, someone might have had a decent score on their own, maybe like 178, add the 600 points from the province, and bam, they're at 778.
So those 345 people weren't necessarily the top scorers in the general competition?
Not in the usual sense, no.
They were winners of a different game, the provincial nomination game. And IRCC is just sort of processing them through the federal system after the fact?
Precisely. Draw 372 isn't really telling us about the competition level for the average applicant out there.
Right.
It's confirming that the pathway for people who get that provincial backing is strong, it's valued, and it's quite separate. And the tiny number, 345 invites, just underlines that. It's like surgical selection.
Picking out specific profiles that the provinces have already said they need.
The provinces have vetted for their own regional job markets. Think of it like the VIP lane for those who did the groundwork at the provincial level first.
Okay, that puts the 778 into perspective. Makes a lot more sense. Now, let's swing completely the other way. Let's look at draw number 373, because this is where the picture shifts dramatically. It shows a whole different policy goal at play.
Yeah, the contrast is stark.
In draw 373, first off, the number of invitations just exploded comparatively. 2,500 ITAs went out.
Much bigger draw.
And it was laser-focused, specifically targeting healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
That's crucial because it uses that newer category-based selection tool they brought in.
Right, the CBS mechanism.
And the score, the number that just plummeted.
472.
472. That's a drop of over 300 points. From 778 down to 472, while sending out, 7 times more invitations?
Huge difference.
So if you're a general candidate listening, maybe you're struggling to get your score near 490 or 500, you see 472, and you must be thinking, wait, how is that possible for them? But the bar is still so high for me.
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The answer really lies in that category-based selection, the CBS.
Okay.
Before CBS came along, IRCC basically just skimmed the highest scores off the top, didn't matter what field they were in, generally speaking.
Right. Highest CRS wins.
Yeah. But now they have the mandate and the tool to select people based on specific job categories Canada needs filled. And that can override the need for just a super high general score.
So they needed healthcare workers badly.
Exactly. The score dropped so much because IRCC essentially said to the system, okay, pause the general competition for a second. We need 2,500 people in healthcare now. Find them.
Regardless of whether their score is 473 or much higher.
Right. By focusing on just that one occupation group, the pool they're drawing from gets smaller, and naturally the score needed to meet that target of 2,500 invitations comes down. That 472 isn't a sign that overall competition dropped for everyone.
No.
It's a direct result of a policy choice to plug specific labor gaps. It's a targeted skills draft, deliberately setting aside the usual high CRS requirement for this specific group.
Okay, that really clarifies the logic. So we've got these two different approaches running at the same time. The 778 draw is like processing these high-value, province-approved candidates.
The PNP stream.
And the 472 draw is tackling immediate labor shortages that the federal government has flagged. They're not conflicting, they're just serving different strategic purposes.
Exactly right. And if you put those numbers side by side, 778 versus 472, the message for application strategy becomes pretty clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it.
The 778 draw tells us that the traditional path, just trying to max out your points for the general pool, hoping maybe for a PNP, that's incredibly competitive, really tough.
You're fighting for every single point.
You are. But the 472 draw for healthcare, that points to a potentially much better route, aligning your profile, your skills, with whatever Canada says it needs right now.
The path of alignment, you called it.
Yeah. If you can align with an in-demand category, it dramatically lowers the bar for getting invited. It's like a shortcut. And what's really striking is how openly IRCC is now saying, we prioritize specific skills, sometimes even over just having a generically high CRS score.
It definitely feels like a more active management of the labor market rather than just passively taking the highest scores overall. And we kind of see hints of that proactive approach in the other sources you brought too, right?
That's you, yeah.
Like the news about IRCC extending the open work permit for those in the TR to PR pathway. Now, for listeners maybe not familiar, TR to PR means temporary resident to permanent resident. This lets people already working here keep working while their PR application is in process.
Correct.
How does that policy connect back to these two draws, the 778 and the 472 one?
Well, it reinforces the big picture goal, keeping the labor force stable. The TR to PR extension is basically IRCC saying, look, we value the people who are already here, working successfully, filling jobs.
Keep the talent we have.
Exactly. This policy helps those who might eventually get a PNP, making them eligible for those high score 778 type draws later on.
Oh, okay.
And it also supports those already working in essential fields, like maybe some of those 472 healthcare folks. It keeps them in the workforce legally.
It all seems quite connected then.
It really is. The government isn't just trying to find brand new people from scratch all the time. They're also focused on retaining the talent already contributing here in Canada. That TR to PR extension gives vital stability to temporary workers, and that feeds right back into both the PNP system and the pool available for these category-based draws. It shows a joined-up effort to manage the labor market and prioritize people with Canadian experience.
So when someone sees that 778 score, they shouldn't just think, wow, that's high. They should see it as reflecting this intense competition, partly because the system values people who've already proved their worth here, either through a province saying we need you, or through actual work experience.
That's a big part of it, yes.
But then the flip side, if the government can pull 2,500 people at a 472 score for healthcare, why wouldn't a general candidate, let's say, an engineer or maybe a financial analyst, feel frustrated that their target score is still way up near 500 unless they get that PNP? Why not just lower the general score for everyone?
Yeah, that's the understandable frustration, the friction point. But from IRCC's perspective, they likely haven't lowered the general score because, well, they don't need to, for their broader goals.
Okay.
That general pool, the one with the high cutoff, is still useful for selecting very high-scoring, well-rounded individuals who maybe don't fit into a specific urgent category, but still represent really strong potential immigrants for Canada long-term.
So maintain quality control there.
Sort of. If they just drop the general score way down, they'd suddenly get flooded with applications from every field. They might pull in lots of qualified people, sure, but maybe not the ones who match the most urgent labor shortages right now.
I see.
Category-based selection, that 472 pathway we saw, gives them the precision tool they need. They can keep the general score high for overall quality and long-term potential. While using CBS like a scalpel to fill critical gaps immediately. It's, kind of having their cake and eating it too, from a workforce planning angle.
That does clarify the two-track system.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to looking ahead. That brings us to the last bit of source material you shared, this labor market report that looks at Canadian employment trends, projecting out through September 2025. This isn't just news. This feels like it could be the crystal ball for future category draws.
Absolutely. That's exactly how you should see it. That official report gives us the best clues about what IRCC might target next with CBS.
Because these category draws aren't just picked out of thin air.
No, not at all. They're driven by data that forecasts which sectors are facing or will face significant labor shortages. Healthcare was the focus this time, clearly, but that report, it's going to indicate which other areas, maybe it's transport, maybe certain tech roles, maybe specific trades, are looking like they'll need people over the next year and a half.
Okay, so that is the actionable intel for listeners.
It's the most actionable source, I'd argue. This data is essentially the roadmap for where the next 472-style low-score draw might pop up. If you're listening and you're not in healthcare, your strategy shouldn't just be get my score higher. It should pivot to how can I align my profile with the next likely in-demand category shown in that forecast?
So, for example, if the report flags a huge need for, I don't know, electricians or data scientists,
right,
then it's highly probable IRCC will eventually run a category-based draw for those occupations, temporarily pushing the required score down, just like we saw with healthcare at 472.
Precisely. That labor market data directly informs the next policy move for CBS. The system is clearly rewarding people who manage to align themselves with these stated government priorities. So yeah, looking at all these sources together, IRCC is definitely running a complex multi-track system.
Sophisticated, even.
Yeah, sophisticated. It uses both those high-score, specialized PNP pathways and these strategic, lower-score, targeted pathways to respond to what the economy needs.
Okay, so that really feels like the central takeaway from our deep dive today. Those express entry scores, 778 and 472, they aren't a contradiction.
Not at all.
They're just the result of two different tools, provincial nomination and category-based selection, being used at the same time to hit different targets. The system isn't one single race to the top score anymore.
No, it's more like several races running in parallel, each with different entry requirements based on which category you fit into.
Right, which brings us to that final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Yeah, the provocative bit. Given how clear the benefit of aligning was in that healthcare draw 373, the big question for you is this. If healthcare was the priority this time, which sector does that labor market report, the one looking out to September 2025, suggest is next in line for that kind of targeted lower score draw?
Where might the next 472 level opportunity appear?
Exactly. That's where your own research, your profile positioning needs to focus if you want to maybe use category prediction to bring that CRS requirement down significantly for yourself.
Excellent point to end on. It boils down to this. Maybe stop obsessing only over maximizing every single point in the general system and start spending more time studying the policy direction and those labor forecasts. Where does Canada say it needs people?
That's the game now, increasingly.
Well, thank you for sharing these sources and helping us make sense of this dual strategy in Canadian immigration today. Hopefully that offers some real clarity. For everyone listening, maybe it's time to think about alignment, not just maximization.
Yeah.